All right, welcome back to TEW Impact. We are at week 4 of May, I believe. Last week of May. On the way to Slammiversary. We still have a few weeks before that. I think that's the third week of May, or third week of June. So we still have quite a bit of time. We're about at the halfway point. Um, Hopefully this one might be a shorter one because we're pretty light on news. And I kind of ended up booking myself match heavy. My personal pattern, I guess, that I've kind of developed is I usually book 5 matches per impact, and then the rest are angles to fill everything out. This week I booked 6, and hopefully they're all gonna be pretty good, or at least most of them. We have the potential for them to be. Um, But yeah, so me going into describing matches probably won't take as long as describing angles. So maybe this will be a short one. So let's just get into it. Our numbers are looking good so far. BTI TV rating the same as always. Overall rating 30, up from 28 last week. TV rating for Impact 0.29, which is up from 0.28 last week, and I believe that is the best TV rating we've done so far. And then overall rating was a 46, up from 41. And attendance was 340.5, down from 347. So we literally went down 2 people, but up everywhere else. Um, and the asterisk, like I mentioned, last week's Impact, it has the best overall rating of any Impact so far, best highest TV rating of Impact so far, and has become the second best show rating overall between Under Siege and Rebellion. So Under Siege still our best show. Then last week's Impact, and then Rebellion. Um, and then I think a recent Impact is a little below Rebellion. So we're kind of riding a wave. Hopefully we can keep that up to Slammiversary. Yeah, let's keep going with the news. Like I said, there's not a whole lot. Um, Probably the biggest news for us. Like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, we kind of uh ended our agreement with NXT because we have ended the agreement not to sign talent from each other. Um, like I kind of predicted then. I have a feeling it might come back to bite us in the ass, and this is kind of maybe a prelude to that because WWE as a whole, not just NXT, but WWE have ended our agreement to not sign any talent from us. So we have a quite negative opinion of them, and they have a mildly negative opinion of us. Um, our only remaining condition that we have in their relationship is that we have still have agreed not to sign workers from them, which considering everyone on WWE, well, almost everyone, I think there's like 1 or 2 people that are not under exclusive deals, so we can't even sign them if we wanted to. Um, there might be some in NXT that we could sign. Wink, wink. I'm trying not to uh, show my hand for future plans, but yeah, us doing that to NXT has resulted in WWE doing that to us. So we've, especially since everyone we have is pretty much on a per appearance deal, that really could open us up for some rating. So and we can't really do that to them because everyone's exclusive over there. So we'll see how that works out. Continuing with the Impact news, Chelsea Green has requested a pay raise from $80 to $140 per appearance. We did request or grant that request. I think that was the same figures that Steve Macklin had, and then we acquiesced to those. We're kind of hoping that doing so would improve Chelsea's morale, but she is still annoyed. So, if it did improve anything, um, it was only slightly. And then, random bit of news I put since we are pretty much slow for news. Impact Talent appeared at a big time independent show in Madison, I assume Wisconsin, because it was in the Great Lakes region. They had an attendance of 1,085. Um, the talent that showed was Jake Something and Diener as the Diener's team. Um, their, or at least Jake Something's old gimmick when they were supposedly cousins. And Puma King over Ray. I can't talk right now. The Deaners and Puma King over Ray Fuego and D Line. Ace Austin over Gunnar Miller, and then the Good Brothers and Dylan Miley, who you guys may know as Lars Sullivan, over Jordan Cruz and the Midnight Sensations in the main event. All three of those were pretty much the top of the card, so good for that show. Seemed to do well for them. Seemed to do well for the talent. So, but like I said, slow news week. I just did that to show that people are working elsewhere. Miscellaneous news for WWE. Io Shirai has changed her style from technician flyer to regular wrestler. And then Eddie Dennis extended his exclusive developmental deal with NXT UK. AEW, Jungle Boy, and Alex Silver extended their handshake deals. New Japan, Jado and Master Wato extended their exclusive deals. MLW, Alicia Atau extended her handshake deal while the Blue Meanie has left MLW. Um, I didn't even know he was there at MLW, and him leaving did not show up on the news, so must not have been that big a deal. And then Stardom has risen to small size. Um, like I said, slow news week, except I don't know if it's the next slide, except that retirements. Yep, yep, more retirements. I have a feeling that the game, since this particular mod is so packed with people, they are just trying to purge talent or purge the amount of talent available. Um, like I said, we um, they're either retiring from the business or retiring from in ring. I'm using that interchangeably, but the list here is pretty big with some notable names. Ricky Choshu, Tom Pritchard, Great Sasuke, Ricky Morton, Jeff Jarrett, Tony Atlas, Akibono, Dump Matsumoto, Ken Shamrock, Sean Waltman, JJ Dillon, Jerry Jarrett, Beth Phoenix, Mickey Knuckles, Tom Brandy, Shane Ballard, Jazz, Dark Sheik, Simply Luscious, Bruiser Mastino, aka Mantor, Terry Funk. I call bullshit on that. Headhunter B. A week after Headhunter A announced his retirement. Jennifer Blake, Carly Perez, Teal Piper, Ultimo Dragon, Jake Roberts, Sika, Bill Eadie, Pirata Morgan, Mascara Sagrada, Lady Apache, Kintaro Kanemura, Sammy Houston, Ed Leslie, Shannon Ballard, along with Shane, who was mentioned earlier, Thunder Kitty, Cliff Compton, Shanna, The Messiah, Sick Nick Mondo, Great Power Udi, Ricky Ortiz, Maven Huffman, Tombstone Jesus, Mil Mascaras, Dick Togo, Viano 4, Tommy Young, Yumiko Hota, Joey Legend, Taylor Wilde, Sorelda, and Rory McAllister. So, as you can see, a lot of those names are older names that, are pretty much retired in real life, but some of them, like Dark Sheik, um, like Thunder Kitty, you know, Taylor Wilde, people that are like currently working. I know Taylor Wilde is just kind of uh just returned, and I was thinking about bringing her back in some shape or form, but that's not gonna work. But yeah, like I said, I think my theory is just that there's so much talent, so many people left or in this mod that the game is kind of purging them. So the official retirements: Takashi Sugiura, who opened a school; Tito Santana, Tony Cozina, Ultramantis Black, Brooke Adams, John Dahmer, Paul Ellering, Abdullah the Butcher, and Maven Bentley. So they have either left the business entirely or at least the in ring. Um, so yeah, but also kind of lending to my theory that the game is purging talent. We have actually had some deaths. We have had deaths in the last couple weeks. LA Park passed away last week. This week, Diamond Dallas Page and Hillbilly Jim. Um, that kind of sucks because I don't think Page was employed anywhere in the game, but like you kind of gotta imagine like if this happened in real life, that would be pretty huge. So, um, all the people that depend on him through his programs and stuff like that, that I know there's no equivalent of that in this game, but just kind of this alternate universe that would really suck without him. But then, Elkanek was inducted into the Hall of the Immortals. And then we have, before the Impact results, we have Mance Warner continuing his streak by defeating Larry with a D. I believe with botched interference by Caleb with a K. Falaba was also at ringside but did not put his nose in their business. So Mance Warner comes out with a win. We get a promo with Tasha Steelz, Savannah Evans, and Janai Kai, hyping up their match later on Impact. Um, we get the return of Quinn McKay as Killer Kelly is walking backstage, and Quinn basically jumps from out of nowhere and is able to get on Killer Kelly's back and take her down for at least a little bit until security comes and separates the two. So after Killer Kelly has supposedly dispatched of the team of Quinn McKay, um, and then Rachel Ellering and Roxy Quinn McKay makes a return, and then we get a promo mostly of Tennille Dashwood, but also with the inspiration to put over their basically lack of interest. I have Tennille talking to them on speakerphone since they have again decided not to show up to work despite being knockout tag team champions. Basically, they're kind of berating Tennille for embarrassing herself and embarrassing them by proxy. She couldn't defeat Xiaozia at the pay per view. She couldn't defeat Taya Valkyrie in her retirement match, so they're basically telling her to shape up or suffer the consequences. And then in Danhausen's debut match, he defeated Crazy Steve. Overall rating of 29. Um, Backstage incident before this show. Um, Another positive one. Ace Austin has also brightened the locker room with his funny drawings. So we haven't really had any negative incidents, which is good. And our backstage is, I believe, still at like an 87% morale. So we are doing pretty good. And it was noted that Larry and Caleb have great chemistry. Caleb I assigned as Larry's manager. So I kind of just had them together along with Falaba as just something to give them something to do, but maybe it's something I can run with because apparently they have great chemistry with each other. I know Caleb in his matches from before the Impact like months ago, he had not very good chemistry with almost everyone he faced. So probably keeping him as a manager and pairing him with Larry D at least is something we can run with. So that's pretty good. Um, but now let's go to Impact. All right. We start off Impact with Chris Bay versus Mike Bailey. Match made last week between the two. Like I said, not an official number one contendership match, but you gotta believe that whoever comes out of this match definitely has a stake, a future shot, maybe in the running. But we don't know because they go to a draw. Um, I thought I had this as a time limit draw, which is why I had them at 15 minutes. They go, but apparently they went to a double count out after 15 minutes. So yeah, neither man wins. But yeah, I wanted to go to a timeout draw because I wanted to show how basically even they are. Um, and overall, we get a segment rating 49, which is really good so far. Gotta believe that's one of the best matches. I know. I believe the cage match last week, the main event with the Wolves over the Gospel Violence was a 50. I think we've had other 50 rated matches here or there, so this has got to be at least like a top 5 match so far. But in the battle of who could possibly get a future X Division title shot, we don't know because neither man had one. We go backstage where Gia Miller is interviewing Brian Myers, and she is basically talking about how the Learning Tree squeaked a win over the team of the AAA excursionists, the uh, Commander Astrolux and Gatita de Plata. Brian Myers basically reiterates how proud of it he is of his guys, but he wants to extend a challenge with he considers him a coach of his boys, and he can wants to go one further and challenge the so-called coach of Team AAA, Laredo Kid. Um, he extends the challenge. Laredo Kid is actually nearby and hears his name called, and despite not really he gets the challenge. He understands Myers enough of Myers promo that Myers is laying down a challenge and Laredo Kid accepts, and he basically said wants to show him from one proud coach to another how it's done and wishes him luck. Segment 24. Also, we should. I'm going to take this opportunity to wish Laredo Kid luck in real life because recently he had to go undergo a pretty intensive procedure, emergency procedure. It seems like he's doing well, but will probably be um, on the shelf for a little while. So we hope he does well. Um, we'll see him in ring in this, next week in game, but in real life, who knows how long it'll be. So we wish him a speedy or at least a thorough recovery and get him back on his feet. Um, and then backstage, we get basically Johnny Swinger is looking for Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. Zicky's just kind of continuing the his stance that they don't need to do this anymore. The casino's safe. They're making money. That's all that matters. And Swinger's just like, he's like, I don't want you know that punk kid to get the best of me. Eventually, they find Austin and Fulton. Zicky's holding Swinger back, but Austin and Fulton are basically just egging him on. They're like, "Come on, old man. Come on. How about it? How about your little friend? Who? You know, you don't think he's gonna be holding you back, huh?" Like, and basically they're just antagonizing it, and eventually Zicky gets it, and he's like, "Okay, I understand." And the two teams start brawling. Eventually, they're pulled apart by security. They don't get very far, but of course, this I don't know, this program, this thing between Swinger and Austin probably should come to an end here pretty soon, but we'll find out how. Segment rating of 29. In a 6 knockout tag team match, we get Jordan Grace, Zhao Zia, and Masha Slamovich defeating the Steel's crew when Zhao Zia pins Janai Kai. Segment rating of 33. Looks like Jordan is head and shoulders above everyone else, so Zhao is at 29, which is on par with Tasha. So, as like the next, everyone else is kind of in the low to mid 20s. So, everyone kind of has some work to do, but basically, the story of this particular match is Tasha is doing whatever she can to not get in the thick of it. She allows Kai to take the pin by Sia. Segment rating of 33, and then after the match, she eventually runs away, likely after a commercial break. After the faces celebrate, Tasha makes her way. Jordan Grace chases her, and Jordan's like, you're leaving your girls behind. And Tasha's just like, I don't care, just as long as you don't get me. I have her going, or the angle has her going away in a car, but we don't go that far. And plus, I already used that angle um, not too long ago. So basically, Tasha runs out on her team as long as she's not the one getting beaten down. Jordan Grace does not approve. Segment rating of 27. And then elsewhere backstage, we get Robert Evans, the legal counsel of Maria Canal LC, um, basically walking around with a clipboard, hoping to get signatures. Not only looking for the fifth member of their Lethal Lockdown team, but also reminding um, roster members and stagehands and the crew that if they want to continue having a job after Slammiversary, to contact him or Maria, and basically just bragging that, like you said, if they want to continue being employed, they should get on their good side. Segment rating of 20. Just kind of a little segment to fill time. And then elsewhere, we get Gail Kim talking to Heath and Rhino. She tells both of them, she's like, I know you guys just had a match last week against Austin and Madman Fulton, and you guys are probably disappointed. You guys didn't come out on top, but I believe you two, have it in your hearts, or have impact in your heart. Um, and I want to extend the invitation to both of you to be on the Lethal Lockdown team. She talks about Rhino's history with Impact, about how he's been, you know, there a long time. Heath has only been here a few years, but when you know the WWE let him go, Impact was there to give him a second chance. And that's what Impact's all about, is just giving the people who maybe might not fully make it to the big time or have come from the big time and have fallen on hard times, to pick them back up and dust them off and tell them how they're still good, they're still relevant. And basically her speech gets to them, and Heath and Rhino accept. So Gail Kim's Lethal Lockdown team is now 3 people out of 5. We got Heath, Rhino, and Homicide. Segment rating of 33. We get Jonathan Gresham versus Dalton Castle in another match made last week. A rematch of one from a few months ago, a rematch of former Ring of Honor world champions. This is Dalton Castle's attempt to cheer up Gresham and, get him back in the fighting spirit. And apparently it works as Jonathan Gresham beats Dalton Castle once again by submission. Segment rating of 45. Dalton seemed off his game. I don't know where that stands. Again, a good match, but as where it stands on our best matches, probably got to be up there. But I don't remember how good their previous match was, so can't really remember if this is better or worse. But still, it seems to have gotten Jonathan Gresham rejuvenated, as after the match, Gresham extends Dalton Castle's hand, or extends his hand to, the fallen Dalton Castle. They helps him up. They shake hands. Uh, Sportsmanship is still alive. The spirit of Ring of Honor, I guess, is still alive, at least in Jonathan Gresham and Dalton Castle, and by proxy, Impact. So we get, a segment rating of 28. Jonathan Gresham seems to be, at least for now, you know, doing better than he had been. And then we get a Taya Valkyrie promo video. This is basically a best of video. I wish video segments did better, but this is at 18. But basically, other than the match last week where she beat Tennille Dashwood, this is, I guess, her send off. This is basically kind of like a best of reel to show what, her career and impact, and wishing her well. I don't know when exactly she retires, but I think it's this week, or at least uh, either the end of this week or the beginning of next week. So yeah. Uh, but after the after that, we go backstage and we get a lot like last week, where Deanna Prazzo and Chelsea Green are mocking Taya Valkyrie and her retirement, and talking about, oh, how it's so sad, boo hoo, and but also Maria is there and she's joining in. But it doesn't last long, as Rosemary storms up to them and she is pretty much ready to fight Deanna and Chelsea. They cower behind their respective titles. Maria steps in between them and she's basically says, hold on, you're not touching either one of these. I know either one of these women. These are my cornerstones of the future of Impact. When I'm running things, these girls will be, the future of our women's division. I'm not going to have you ruining that. But I know you're talking about how you want a shot. You want a title shot. Is that right? And Rosemary's like, yeah. And Maria's like, all right, I'll give you a title shot. Next week, you can have a title shot against Chelsea for her digital media championship. Rosemary is disappointed because that's not the title she wanted. She wanted Deanna Prazzo, and Chelsea's disappointed because she doesn't want to face Rosemary. But Maria continues that she says, hey, if you can beat Chelsea, if you could take the digital media championship from her, maybe I'll consider giving you a title shot, or a shot at Deanna's knockouts title. So Rosemary and Maria just says, take it or leave it. And Rosemary just unfortunately just kind of has to take it. But we get a lot of unhappy campers. Rosemary doesn't want Rosemary wants Deanna. Chelsea doesn't want to wrestle Rosemary at all. But we'll see what happens next week. Rosemary versus Chelsea Green for the Digital Media Championship. Segment rating of 35. We get the Motor City Machine Guns versus Trey Miguel and Sam Beal. Another match made last week. Um, crap. I just read the bottom. Uh, Made last week where Trey and Sam challenged the Guns for a title match, but considering their overall standing, the Guns said they can't really justify giving them a title shot, but if they can defeat them tonight, they will give them one in the future. But that does not seem to be the case as the Guns defeat Trey and Sam in a non-title match. Um, it's actually Sabin getting the pin over Trey in a kind of note of karma because months ago when Trey was the X Division champion, Chris Sabin could not defeat him for the belt, but now he's getting his win back over Trey. Um, Despite Sam being the overall weak link and struggling to keep up with everyone else. But Sabin pins Trey. Unfortunately, Sabin sustained an undisclosed elbow injury. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully that's not super. That won't put them on the shelf for too long. Because I have plans for them. I put the belts on. Well, put the belts on them for a reason, but that was because Davey Richards got injured. Now Chris Sabin got injured. Sam Beal was off his game, but that's kind of be expected considering the level that the Guns are at. So segment rating 41. So not the best match of the night, but still really good so far. Overall, I guess. I know I know this someone mentioned in in the comments of one of my older videos, which shows that people are watching, so thank you. But they mentioned like they asked about the low ratings. Um, like I said, that's probably due to the mod. Everyone's stats have kind of just been lowered, considering as good as like Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin are, they're not necessarily as are seen as, good as anyone in WWE or whatever. So, um, while these stats overall may have been lowered, I kind of agree that stats are too low. The fact that our best matches are only in the 50 range kind of sucks, but that's we take what we can get with this. So yeah. And Chris Sabin suffered an injury, so we'll see how that shakes out. Hopefully it won't hurt us for too long. We get a promo after that match with the Wolves basically putting themselves over after defeating the Gospel of Violence in the cage match at last week's main event. And basically, they're putting themselves on the path towards the tag team championships. And considering that they are tied for the most number of Impact title reigns, a future win if they win the tag team titles, could solidify them as the greatest tag team in Impact history. But, they have to get there first. So, they were there before, but, they were close. But Davey got injured. Minor setback, he's back, and they're raring to go. And they want to cement their legacy and Impact. Segment rating of 43. In an X Division title match, we get Shane Strickland defeating Rich Swann. Another match made last week. Rich Swann bragging about getting rid of Willie Mack and instantly finding himself back into X Division title contention. But that's not his night as Shane defeats Rich Swann following interference from Willie Mack, basically behind the ref's back. Willie makes his way to ringside, and Rich kind of jaw jacks with Willie Mack, but the ref's not paying attention. Mack takes the opportunity to grab Swann and drop him throat first across the top rope, and which allows Rich Swann to bounce back into Swerve's arms, plants him with a JML driver for the win. Segment rating of 48. Another successful title defense for Swerve. Another good match. And then Joe Doring comes out to the ring and cuts a promo. And he puts over the fact that he got a receipt, at once, he had been attacked by Damien O'Connor at Under Siege. So last week, after Damien defeated Jonah, Joe Doring came back and got his receipt and beat up Damien. But that's not enough for him. He wants a match. Him versus Damien O'Connor, and he wants it next week. But that's not all. While he was out, he was looking through, he contacted Impact officials. He wanted to know the status of Eric Young, and realizing that Eric Young's been on the shelf for quite some time. But it looks like Eric Young might be cleared to compete by Slammiversary. So he puts it on the line if he wants Damien O'Connor next week, and if he defeats Damien, he gets a match with Eric Young at Slammiversary. Eric Young will finally be fresh as a daisy. He'll be clear to compete, and Joe Doring can finally get his hands on him and finish this bullshit once and for all. A segment rating of 31. We get another match made for next week, and if things go well, a possible Slammiversary match. And then in the main event, in a last man standing match, Jake Something defeats W. Morrissey. I just realized that I still didn't turn Joe Doring face. I think I might have probably wanted to in that segment, but I didn't set it to that, so I'm gonna have to do it next week. I have to remind myself. But that's my fault. But main event time. Jake Something defeats W. Morrissey in the last man standing match. Unfortunately, the worst match of the night when you have other, at least like highly competitive matches with like X Division talent, and then you have like two big guys going at it. I should expect this, but I was kind of hoping that the storyline and the storyline ending with this would give it a boost, but it did not. Segment rating of 33. Jake Something defeats W. Morrissey. The program's over. Basically, Morrissey likely hits Something with a big boot or two, but Something just keeps getting back up. He will not stay down. He's going to stand up and stand up for what he believes in, stand up for what is right, and apparently the fighting spirit that Jake Something has is enough to lay Morrissey out and keep him down for the count of 10. And Jake Something finishes this rivalry and comes out on top. But W. Morrissey seemed off his game. Jake something had an in-ring performance of 30. Morrissey had a 33. Morrissey probably could have done better if he wasn't off his game, and then that just resulted in a bleh match. So hopefully the program ending doesn't really penalize them. I don't know if it does or not. Yeah, they don't really like the feud ending doesn't really. I don't know. We'll see, like with overness or whatever, that the results of that feud if it really paid off for either one of them. So, and after the match, Jake something celebrates. He goes out into the crowd. He did this for the crowd. He did this for himself. He wanted to show that he was good enough to hang with the big guys and defeating one of the biggest guys and probably the biggest guy in Impact, at least the tallest. um, but yeah, Jake something hopefully making his mark with his career and in the future of Impact. So segment rating of 33 for celebration, and then after that we basically get a recap of PCO coming out last week and attacking Josh Alexander and putting him through a table. Basically, PCO cuts a promo, even though he's just like a grunting madman at this point. He makes it clear enough that he's here for Josh Alexander's Impact title, and Alexander eventually comes out and accepts. So not only does he accept, though, he says, let's do this next week. Let's do this on Impact. I'm the fighting champion. Impact is on my back. And, if you're going to come in and step to me, I'm going to give it everything I got and blah, 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 blah. And we have a match, a title match, a world title match. Josh Alexander versus PCO. We have to wonder how smart of a decision this is so close to Slammiversary. As far as we know, Josh Alexander does not have a title match at Slammiversary, but you know, having facing someone like PCO who is, almost certifiably crazy, um, could work out in his favor, could not. We could easily see a title change next week. So segment rating of 39 or overall rating of 39. Um, so I think our overall rating has dropped despite having some really good matches. Our show has lost its popularity in two regions, so I assume we have no. I can't remember if that's why. Like, if we're losing popularity, but I think it would have told us if we have not. I'm trying to think out loud of our storylines, whether they're hot or not. And I'm sure like we just, ended one that probably wasn't that hot. So I don't know. But regardless, despite how good some of these matches were, we kind of had a dip in quality. But we are on the way to Slammiversary. We have PCO getting a title shot against Josh Alexander next week. We also have Doring versus Damien O'Connor, and if Doring wins, he gets a match against um, Eric Young at Slammiversary. Um, so we are making our way towards Slammiversary. Next week we have Rosemary versus Chelsea Green um, for the digital media title. And if Rosemary can win, maybe she will get a future shot at Deonna Purrazzo. We shall see. But before I go, I'm going to go ahead and finish this, go to the next day because I want to see how Chris Sabin's injury is going to affect us. So we're back. Just a quick epilogue to this. I'm going to wrap it up really quick. Hopefully, you guys can't see any possible spoilers, but the undisclosed elbow injury is not as bad. Um, he can still perform, but we are likely going to keep his schedule light leading up to Slammiversary, where we definitely have plans for, the Motor City Machine Guns to defend their titles in some shape or form at Slammiversary. So things are not as bad as they could be. So thanks for that, and thanks for watching.